Most people do not feel overwhelmed because they are lazy. They feel overwhelmed because their days are filled with too many small demands and too little order. Things pile up, time slips away, the mind gets tired. Even simple tasks start to feel heavy. That is where real change begins, not by trying to do everything at once, but by learning how to organize life in a way that supports peace, focus, and steady progress. In this audiobook, you will discover a simple system for living with more calm and less stress. You will learn how to build better daily habits, choose what truly matters, protect your time, and stay focused without feeling constantly rushed. You will also see how small changes in your routine, environment, and thinking can lead to a more disciplined and balanced life. This is not about perfection. It is about making life easier to manage and better to live. It is about creating order that helps you think clearly, work steadily, and move forward with confidence. If you have ever wanted a life that feels less chaotic and more under control, this is where that shift begins. Chapter 1. Create a simple daily system that reduces stress. A calm life does not begin when everything around you becomes easy. It begins when you decide that your mind will no longer be ruled by confusion. Most people wake up and immediately step into noise. They reach for the phone before they reach for their thoughts. They look at messages before they have chosen their direction. They rush into the day without a system and then wonder why their energy feels broken by noon. That kind of living creates stress that never fully leaves. It follows a person from morning to night and makes even small tasks feel heavier than they should be. A simple daily system changes that. It gives shape to the day. It reduces wasted energy. It removes the feeling that life is happening too fast to control. A good system does not make life perfect. It makes life manageable. That is a serious difference. When your day has structure, your mind no longer has to hold everything at once. You stop depending on memory alone. You stop reacting to every small demand. You begin to move with intention instead of confusion. This is where peace starts, not in comfort, not in luck. In order, a simple system is not about filling every hour. It is about knowing what matters and creating a pattern that supports it. It is about waking up with a clear first step. It is about knowing how to start your day without pressure. It is about choosing a few important actions and doing them with steady focus. It is also about ending the day in a way that leaves the mind settled instead of restless. A person who does this begins to feel stronger from the inside. Life still brings demands, problems still appear. But the person is no longer fragile in the face of them. The first truth is this: stress grows when the mind is forced to decide too much too often. Every time you ask yourself what to do next, you spend energy. Every time you return to the same unfinished tasks, you drain attention. Every time you open the day without a plan, you hand control to whatever appears first. That is why people can be busy all day and still feel unsatisfied. They move a lot, but they do not move with direction. The result is mental fatigue. A daily system protects you from this kind of exhaustion. Start with the morning. The morning does not need to be complicated to be powerful. It only needs to be consistent. Wake up and give yourself a few quiet minutes before you allow outside noise to enter. Do not rush straight into messages or news. Do not let the world speak first. Use those first moments to collect yourself. Sit up, breathe slowly, notice your surroundings, drink water. Make your bed if that helps you feel settled. Wash your face. Do the small things that tell your mind the day has begun under your control. These actions may appear simple, but they create a tone that stays with you. Then choose your direction for the day. Not 20 tasks. Not a long list that creates pressure before breakfast. Choose the few actions that matter most. Ask yourself, what would make this day useful? What would reduce future stress? What would move life forward in a real way? A system begins when you learn to separate what is urgent from what is important. Many things demand attention, few things deserve it. If you do not choose carefully, your day will be spent serving other people's urgency instead of your own growth. Write down the 3 most important tasks for the day. 3 is enough for most days. More than that, and the mind can start to scatter. These tasks should be specific and realistic, not vague ideas, not wishes, real actions. For example, finish the report, clean the desk, make the appointment, study one chapter, pay the bill, send the message. The goal is not to impress yourself with ambition. The goal is to create clear movement. Once the 3 tasks are chosen, let them guide your energy. When a new request comes in, ask whether it deserves to replace what already matters. That simple question can save hours of regret. A stress-reducing system also includes time blocks. This does not mean a rigid life. It means giving certain kinds of work a place to live. For example, set aside 1 block for deep work when your mind is freshest. Set aside another for calls and messages. Set aside another for household tasks or errands. When everything has a place, the day stops feeling like a pile of loose pieces. You no longer need to decide all day long where your attention should go. You already decided. That is one of the quiet benefits of discipline. It saves energy for the work itself. One of the most practical habits you can build is starting with the hardest useful task early in the day. Not because suffering is noble, not because difficulty should be chased, but because the mind feels lighter when important work is handled before distractions multiply. If you delay what matters, your stress grows in the background. The task remains alive in your thoughts. It sits there and takes space. When you do it early, you remove that weight. You also build trust in yourself, and trust in yourself is a deep source of calm. Many people create stress by expecting motivation to arrive before action. That is backward. Action often creates the feeling people are waiting for. A simple system helps you move even when your mood is not perfect. You do not need to feel inspired to begin. You only need to begin. Once movement starts, resistance often weakens. The body and mind respond to structure. They like clear instructions. They become less anxious when they know what comes next. That is why routines matter. A routine is not a prison. It is a support. It reduces the number of choices you must make when your mind is tired. Think about how much energy is wasted each day deciding what to do first, what to wear, when to eat, when to work, when to rest, and when to stop. A few repeated patterns remove that burden. Eat around the same times. Start work in the same window when possible. Take breaks at regular times. End the day with a wind down that tells your mind it can release the load. The point is not perfect consistency. The point is dependable rhythm. You also need a clear way to handle interruptions. Life will interrupt your plan, that is certain. A child needs help. A call comes in. A work issue appears. A family matter shifts the day. A calm person does not pretend interruptions will not happen. A calm person builds a system that can absorb them. When your day is organized, you can deal with changes without falling apart. You know what is fixed. You know what can move. You know what can wait. This is a major source of inner strength. You become less reactive and more stable. One useful habit is to keep a capture place for thoughts. A notebook works well. A notes app can work too. The method matters less than the habit. Whenever something important enters your mind, write it down. A bill to pay, an idea to remember, a task to do tomorrow, a name, a question, a small obligation. This keeps your mind from trying to hold everything at once. The brain is not meant to serve as a storage box for every detail. It is meant to think clearly. Writing things down frees mental space and lowers pressure. Another strong habit is a short midday reset. Many people lose themselves by noon. The day starts to feel scattered. Focus fades. Irritation rises. Small problems feel bigger than they are. A midday reset can prevent this slide. Stop for a few minutes. Look at your list. Notice what is done and what remains. Drink water. Stretch. Take a slow walk if possible. Breathe. Ask yourself whether your energy is still going where it should. This small pause can restore order before the afternoon becomes chaos. It is easier to correct a course early than to recover from a full collapse later. The afternoon is where many people surrender their best intentions. That is usually when energy drops and distractions increase. A simple system prepares for this. Do not leave every demanding task for late in the day if you can avoid it. Put harder work earlier and lighter work later when needed. Keep the afternoon focused on what still matters, but may not require your sharpest thinking. This is practical wisdom. It respects human limits instead of denying them. A disciplined life is not one that ignores fatigue. It is one that plans for it. There is also a quiet power in simplifying decisions outside of work. Choose simple meals more often. Keep regular places for keys, wallet, charger, and other important items. Reduce the time spent deciding small things that do not deserve much attention. The fewer unnecessary decisions you make, the more mental strength remains for meaningful work. This is not about being strict for its own sake. It is about preserving your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable things you have. Waste it and stress rises. Protect it and life becomes more peaceful. A daily system should also include a way to close the day. Many people work or scroll until they collapse into sleep. That leaves the mind open and active when it should be resting. A good closing routine tells the nervous system that the day is complete. Put away what needs to be put away. Look over tomorrow's tasks. Write down anything unfinished so it does not keep turning in your head. Clear a little space in your room or on your desk. Dim the lights, reduce stimulation. Read something steady. Pray or reflect if that is part of your life. End with calm. This is not luxury, it is maintenance. When the day ends with order, sleep often improves. When sleep improves, patience improves. When patience improves, decisions improve. And when decisions improve, life slowly becomes more stable. That is how a simple system creates real change. Not by one dramatic moment, but by repeated support. Each day becomes less chaotic. Each week becomes more useful. Each month becomes more trustworthy. You begin to believe in your own capacity to handle life. That belief matters. The Stoic mind understands that control is limited. You cannot control every event. You cannot control other people's moods. You cannot control every delay or setback. But you can control your response. You can control your preparation. You can control your habits. You can control whether you meet the day with a scattered mind or a steady one. That is not small power. That is where dignity lives. A person with a simple daily system does not need to dominate life. They need to meet it with order. There will be days when the system breaks. That is normal. A child gets sick. A deadline changes. You sleep badly. You become frustrated. You lose focus. The answer is not self-hatred. The answer is return. Return quickly and without drama. Do not let one bad day become 3. Do not turn a missed routine into an abandoned life. A strong person is not one who never slips. A strong person is one who returns without making excuses. That habit creates resilience. To make your system truly effective, begin small enough to sustain it. Many people fail because they create a perfect plan they cannot live with. They want a complete transformation in one day. They promise themselves a new identity and then collapse under the weight of unrealistic expectations. Start with simple anchors. Wake up at a similar time. Make your bed. Write your top 3 tasks. Work in a focused block. Take a short reset. Close the day with review and preparation. These basics repeated honestly are enough to change a life. A system does not need to be complex to be powerful. You may notice resistance at first. That is normal too. The mind often resists structure because structure exposes wasted time and undirected energy. It can feel uncomfortable to see how much is not working, but discomfort is not danger. It is often the beginning of honesty. If you stay with the process, your mind starts to relax into the pattern. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity reduces anxiety. Soon what once felt forced begins to feel natural. A calm, productive life is not built by chasing excitement. It is built by respecting the ordinary moments that shape the day. The way you begin, the way you choose, the way you focus, the way you recover, the way you end the day. Small repeated choices create your mental atmosphere. If those choices are careless, life feels heavy. If those choices are deliberate, life becomes lighter, not easy. Lighter, that difference matters. Another helpful practice is the weekly review. Even though this chapter is about the daily system, the weekly review supports it. Once a week, look back at what worked and what did not. Notice where stress came from. Was it too many commitments? Was it poor sleep? Was it poor planning? Was it clutter? Was it constant interruptions? Honest review turns experience into wisdom. Without review, many people repeat the same mistakes while calling them bad luck. A simple system grows stronger when you study your own patterns. Be careful with your environment too. The space around you influences the state of your mind. A cluttered desk can create a cluttered thought process. A noisy room can make focus harder. A messy start to the day can quietly raise stress before you even notice it. You do not need a perfect home or office. You need enough order that your mind can breathe. Clear the surfaces you use. Keep the tools you need within reach. Remove items that only create visual noise. When the environment supports your habits, the system becomes easier to maintain. Do not confuse simplicity with weakness. Simplicity takes wisdom. It takes courage to remove what is unnecessary. It takes discipline to choose fewer things and do them well. It takes maturity to stop proving yourself through overcommitment. A simple daily system is a sign that you value your peace enough to protect it. It says you understand that a rushed life is not always a meaningful life. It says you want results without losing yourself in the process. There is also emotional relief in knowing what to do when you feel overwhelmed. When pressure rises, you do not have to invent a solution from scratch. You return to the system. What is the next task? What is the first step? What can be delayed? What must be finished today? What can be written down for later? A calm person does not try to solve every problem at once. They narrow the field. They deal with what is in front of them. That is how stress loses its power. Some people believe organization is only about neatness. It is much deeper than that. Real organization is about mental freedom. It is about reducing friction between intention and action. It is about making the right choice easier to follow. It is about lowering the cost of daily living. When your life has a simple system, you stop spending so much energy on avoidance and confusion. You have more room for learning, for work, for family, for reflection, for rest. That is a better life. The daily system must also leave room for rest. Some people think being productive means staying active at all times. That is a mistake. Rest is not laziness. Rest restores judgment. Rest protects patience. Rest keeps the system alive. If you never pause, your structure becomes brittle. Give yourself permission to rest without guilt. A steady life includes recovery. The goal is not constant motion. The goal is sustainable strength. As the days pass and the system begins to take hold, you may notice a quiet change in yourself. You respond with less panic. You make decisions more easily. You finish more of what you start. You stop feeling as if every day is a fresh emergency. This does not happen all at once. It happens through repetition, through ordinary mornings, through honest planning, through consistent follow-through, through a return to order after each slip. That is how identity changes. At times you may feel tempted to abandon structure for the sake of freedom. But true freedom is not living without order. True freedom is not being trapped by your impulses. True freedom is having enough discipline that you can choose your life instead of drifting through it. A simple daily system gives you that freedom. It does not cage you. It supports you. It protects your time. It protects your attention. It protects your energy. It gives you a stable ground to stand on. Remember that your life is shaped by what you repeat. If you repeat chaos, your life will feel chaotic. If you repeat thoughtful structure, your life will gradually become calmer and more productive. There is no need to rush this truth. It is already working in your favor if you accept it. Each day offers another chance to begin again with order. Another chance to choose fewer things and do them better. Another chance to live with intention rather than accident. So keep the system simple, keep it honest, keep it useful, wake with clarity, choose your priorities, work in focus blocks, capture what you cannot hold. Pause during the day to reset. Close the day with reflection and preparation. Repeat. Not perfectly. Repeatedly. That is enough to create change. That is enough to lower stress. That is enough to build a life that feels steadier from the inside out. A calm, productive life is not reserved for a few special people. It belongs to anyone willing to build it one day at a time. You do not need a perfect personality. You do not need ideal conditions. You do not need to wait until life becomes less demanding. You begin where you are. You use what you have. You create order in the middle of real life. And over time that order becomes strength. It becomes confidence. It becomes peace. The day will still bring demands, that is certain. But with a simple daily system, you will no longer face those demands as a scattered mind. You will face them as a grounded person with a clear direction. That is a better way to live. It is quieter, stronger, more honest, more useful, and deeply more human. Chapter 2. Eliminate unnecessary commitments and focus on what matters. A heavy life is often not built by the big things people fear. It is built by the small things they agree to without thinking. A quick yes, a favor that was never really theirs to carry. A promise made out of guilt. A plan accepted out of habit. A meeting that adds nothing. A message answered too quickly. A responsibility taken on simply because saying no felt uncomfortable. Over time, these choices fill the day until there is almost no room left for what truly matters. Many people feel tired not because they are weak, but because their life is crowded with things that do not deserve their energy. They spend themselves on duties that drain them, and then wonder why there is so little left for their goals, family, health, peace, or growth. A focused life begins when a person becomes honest about what deserves a place in their time. Not every request is a responsibility. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Wisdom begins with discernment. To eliminate unnecessary commitments, you must first see them for what they are. Some commitments are meaningful and necessary. They support your work, your values, your relationships, and your future. Others are only habits of overextension. They are things you agreed to before thinking clearly. They may have once seemed important, but now they only consume attention. A mature person does not keep every old obligation out of fear of disappointing others. A mature person asks whether the commitment still serves a real purpose. If it does not, it may be time to release it. This takes courage because many people are trained to say yes too easily. They want to be helpful. They want to be liked. They want to avoid conflict. They do not want to seem selfish or difficult. But a life built on constant agreement eventually collapses under its own weight. You cannot live well when you belong to everyone else's needs. You must protect space for your own values. That is not selfishness. That is responsibility. The first step is to look at your current commitments with complete honesty. Write them down if needed. Notice what repeats each week. Notice what drains your energy. Notice what creates tension before it creates value. Ask a simple question for each one. Does this support the life I am trying to build? If the answer is unclear or no, then the commitment deserves closer examination. This kind of honesty can feel uncomfortable at first because it removes the comfort of automatic living. But discomfort is often the price of growth. Not everything that is good for someone else is good for you. Not every request must become your burden. A healthy life depends on boundaries. Boundaries are not walls of anger. They are lines of wisdom. They tell others where your time ends and your peace begins. Without boundaries, your schedule becomes public property. With boundaries, your life becomes intentional. That one change can alter everything. Learning to say no is one of the most freeing skills a person can develop. A clear no protects a better yes. Each time you refuse something unnecessary, you are choosing room for something more important. You are choosing energy over exhaustion. You are choosing purpose over pressure. You are choosing depth over noise. Many people believe that no makes them smaller. In truth, no makes them stronger when it is used with honesty and respect. There is no need to say no harshly. A calm and direct answer is enough. You do not owe long explanations for every decision. Sometimes a simple line is the most respectful one. You can thank the person. You can decline politely. You can say you are unable to commit. You can say your schedule is full. You can say the timing is not right. What matters is that your answer is truthful. Each honest boundary builds trust in yourself. Each forced yes weakens it. A surprising amount of stress comes from unfinished obligations that never should have been accepted in the first place. They sit in the background of your mind and drain peace before they even begin. The more of them you carry, the more scattered you feel. That is why a simpler life often starts with subtraction rather than addition. It is not about doing more, it is about carrying less. When the load becomes lighter, the mind becomes clearer. Look closely at your obligations and separate what is yours from what is merely nearby. Some people take on other people's emotions, other people's problems, and other people's expectations as if they were required to solve everything. They are not. You can care deeply without taking ownership of what does not belong to you. You can support someone without becoming responsible for their choices. You can be kind without becoming available for every demand. This distinction is essential. It preserves your energy and keeps your focus from being scattered by things you cannot control. Focus grows when distraction loses access. Every unnecessary commitment steals a piece of attention that could have gone toward meaningful work or real rest. The cost is not always visible at first. One extra obligation may seem harmless. 10 of them become a burden. Soon the day is packed with obligations that do not move your life forward. That is how people become active but not effective. They are moving constantly but not always meaningfully. A simpler path requires a clearer standard for saying yes. Before agreeing to anything, ask whether it aligns with your current season of life. A season of rebuilding requires different commitments than a season of expansion. A season of family care requires different choices than a season of focused career growth. A season of healing asks for more space. A season of learning asks for more concentration. Not every opportunity belongs to every season. Wise people understand this and adjust accordingly. There is a quiet discipline in protecting your future from your present impulses. Many commitments are made in the moment without regard for tomorrow. A person feels generous or excited or guilty and says yes too fast. Later the cost appears. The calendar tightens. The mind grows tired. The promise becomes a source of resentment. Discipline means pausing before agreeing. It means giving yourself time to think. It means recognizing that a rushed yes often becomes a slow regret. A useful habit is to build a short pause into every new request. You do not need to answer instantly unless it is truly urgent. Take time to check your energy and your priorities. Ask whether this will matter next week, next month, or next year. Ask what it will displace. Ask whether your presence is truly needed or merely convenient. This pause keeps your life from being hijacked by the preferences of others. It helps you respond instead of react. Part of simplifying commitments is understanding that guilt is not a good guide. Guilt can be useful when you have done something wrong. It is not useful when it appears simply because you declined something that was not right for you. Many good people allow guilt to make decisions on their behalf. They end up exhausted and quietly resentful. A more disciplined life is built on principle rather than emotional pressure. You do not need to accept every demand to prove that you care. There is also wisdom in reducing invisible commitments. These are the obligations you make in your mind without ever saying them aloud. You promise yourself to keep up with every message immediately. You promise to attend every event. You promise to stay available all the time. You promise to be everywhere for everyone. These hidden agreements are exhausting because they are endless. They turn your attention into a public resource. Releasing them is part of reclaiming your peace. One of the most powerful changes you can make is to define what truly matters in this season. What are the few responsibilities that deserve your best effort? What are the values you will not compromise? What are the relationships that need care? What goals require protected time? Once you know this, the rest becomes easier to judge. You no longer measure your worth by how much you can absorb. You measure your life by how faithfully you invest in what matters. The person who focuses on what matters is not uncaring. They are clear. They do not confuse movement with progress. They do not confuse busyness with importance. They know that life is limited and time is not endless. That awareness brings seriousness. It also brings peace. When you stop trying to do everything, you begin to do the right things with greater depth. There will always be pressure to overcommit. Some of it comes from culture. Some of it comes from family. Some of it comes from your own desire to be useful. But the strongest people are not the ones who say yes to everything. They are the ones who know what they stand for and guard it carefully. They accept that being faithful to a few important things is better than being loosely involved in many. Focus also improves when your commitments are aligned with your energy. There are times in the day when you think more clearly and times when you need to slow down. There are days when you can give more and days when you must protect your limits. A wise person respects these realities. They do not force themselves into every demand just because they believe they should. They work with their reality instead of fighting it. That creates more consistency and less burnout. If your life feels crowded, take that as a signal. Crowding is not always a sign of success. Sometimes it is a sign of poor boundaries. Sometimes it is a sign that your priorities have not been protected. Sometimes it is a sign that your yes has been too available. The answer is not shame. The answer is simplification. Remove what is unnecessary. Keep what is meaningful. Let the rest fall away. As you begin to release unneeded commitments, you may notice a deep relief. Your breathing may feel easier. Your thoughts may quiet down. Your days may feel less rushed. This is not because life suddenly became easy. It is because you stopped carrying what was never meant to rest on your shoulders. That relief is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. This process may also reveal how much of your stress came from fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of missing out, fear of being seen as unkind, fear of losing approval. These fears are common, but they should not rule your choices. A life of integrity asks for something stronger than approval. It asks for honesty. It asks for courage. It asks for the willingness to disappoint in small ways, so you do not betray yourself in larger ones. Every meaningful life requires sacrifice. The question is what kind of sacrifice you will make. You can sacrifice your peace by saying yes too often. Or you can sacrifice the habit of pleasing everyone so you can protect your direction. One leads to exhaustion, the other leads to strength. One spreads your life thin, the other deepens it. The choice is not always easy, but it is always important. Start with one clear action. Remove one obligation that no longer fits. Decline one request that would create unnecessary strain. Limit one habit of over-availability. Protect one block of time for something that truly matters. These small decisions build a new standard. They teach your mind that your time is valuable and your priorities are real. They also send a message to yourself that your life will no longer be run by every passing demand. When you simplify your commitments, your focus becomes sharper. When your focus becomes sharper, your work improves. When your work improves, your confidence grows. When your confidence grows, your life begins to feel less chaotic and more directed. That is the quiet power of choosing less with care. You do not lose life by removing what is unnecessary. You recover it. A calm, productive life is built by people who understand that every yes has a cost. They choose carefully. They move with purpose. They protect their attention. They know that focus is not found by accident. It is defended. And once it is defended long enough, it becomes part of who you are. That is where real change begins. Chapter 3. Organize your environment to support better decisions. The space around you shapes the way you think before you even notice it. A cluttered desk can make a clear task feel heavier than it is. A crowded room can create a restless mind. A pile of unfinished items can quietly pull your attention away from the work in front of you. Many people try to fix their decisions while ignoring the environment that keeps pushing them in the wrong direction. That is a mistake. The place where you live and work should help your mind stay steady. It should not fight against your efforts. A well-organized environment does more than look clean. It reduces friction, it makes the right choice easier, and the careless choice harder. When your keys are always in one place, you stop wasting time searching. When your desk only holds what belongs there, your mind settles faster. When the room around you is simple and clear, your thinking often becomes the same. This is not magic, it is the natural effect of order. The mind absorbs signals from the space around it all day long. If those signals are chaotic, your decisions often become scattered too. Start by looking at the places you use most often. Your desk, your room, your kitchen. The place where you prepare for the day. The area where you work. The seat where you spend too much time thinking without acting. These spaces do not need to be perfect. They do need to be useful. Ask a direct question about each one. Does this space help me think clearly and act with purpose? If the answer is no, then it is time to change what is there. A useful space makes the next action obvious. That is the goal. You should be able to sit down and begin without losing energy to distraction. If your work area is buried under old papers, random items and objects you do not use, then your mind has to push through visual noise before it can focus. If your morning space is badly, you may begin the day already feeling behind. Small adjustments can change this. Remove what does not belong. Place the tools you use most where your hands can reach them easily. Keep surfaces as open as possible. Simplicity gives the mind room to breathe. There's said strength in owning less visible clutter. Many people do not realize how much pressure comes from the things they keep around simply because they have always been there. Old receipts, broken pens, unused cords, worn-out notebooks, forgotten clothes, half-empty containers and objects with no real purpose all create a quiet burden. Each item asks for attention. Each item tells the mind that something remains unfinished. Clearing these things is not only a physical act, it is a decision to stop carrying what no longer serves your life. When you organize a space with care, you make better decisions because fewer decisions are buried under confusion. You are no longer spending energy on the small question of where things are. You are not interrupted by the constant search for missing items. You are not distracted by piles that ask for attention without offering value. The mind can stay with the task because the space is no longer competing with it. This matters more than people realize. Clear surroundings support clear thinking. Begin with one area and do not try to conquer everything in a single day. That only creates exhaustion and frustration. Choose the space that affects your daily life the most. Clean it, sort it. Remove what is broken, unused, or distracting. Keep only what helps. Then create a simple place for each important item. A home for your keys, a home for your charger, a home for your notebook, a home for the papers you truly need. The fewer decisions you must make about your objects, the more energy remains for your actual life. A good environment also protects your values. If you want to read more, keep books visible and close. If you want to exercise, keep your shoes and clothing ready. If you want to write, keep your notebook or device available with minimal effort. If you want to eat better, keep healthier food easy to reach and limit the things that lead to careless choices. Environment influences behavior in quiet ways. It does not force you, but it does guide you. That is why arranging your surroundings is an act of wisdom. Do not overlook lighting and sound. A bright and calm space can help you stay awake and attentive. A dark or noisy place can create tiredness and irritability. If possible, allow natural light into the room. Open a window when the air feels stale. Reduce loud distractions when you need to think. Use soft background sound only if it helps you focus rather than pull you away. These details may seem small, yet they influence mood and decision-making more than many people admit. You also need a space that encourages honesty. If your environment is full of unfinished tasks, your mind may start to avoid looking at them. If the mess stays in sight for too long, you may begin to feel defeated before you begin. A clean and ordered room does not mean life is easy. It means you are facing reality without adding unnecessary weight. That is a stoic way to live. Do what is in your control, remove what is within reach, accept what remains and work from there. A better environment helps with emotional regulation too. When the outside world feels unstable, a simple room can become a steady point. When your thoughts are crowded, a clean desk can offer relief. When your energy is low, a clear space can reduce resistance to action. The environment does not solve your problems, but it can make it easier to deal with them. That is enough reason to respect it. A person who takes care of their surroundings is also taking care of their future decisions. Think about the places that create the worst version of your habits. Maybe one chair leads to too much scrolling. Maybe one corner becomes a dump for unfinished items. Maybe one table collects clutter because there is no clear system. Maybe the kitchen invites careless eating because everything is visible and nothing is organized. These patterns are not random. Your surroundings train your behavior through repetition. If you want different choices, then change the cues around you. Remove the trigger, add the support, make the better path easier to follow. You do not need expensive furniture or a perfect home to do this well. You need honesty and consistency. A small room can be orderly. A simple desk can be effective. A shared space can still support good decisions if it is arranged with intention. Organization is not about luxury. It is about function. It is about creating enough order that your mind is not constantly paying a tax to chaos. It helps to create a few fixed zones in your space. One place for work, one place for rest, one place for items you must remember, one place for things that need attention later. When spaces have clear purpose, your mind learns faster what each area means. That reduces confusion. A bed should invite rest more than work. A desk should invite focus more than distraction. A shelf should hold what you actually use rather than what you are avoiding. When the space communicates clearly, your behavior becomes easier to direct. Another useful habit is a brief reset at the end of the day. Put things back where they belong. Clear the desk. Fold what needs folding. Remove what does not need to stay out overnight. This is not about perfection. It is about giving tomorrow a better starting point. Waking up to an organized space creates less resistance. It also builds respect for your own effort. You are telling yourself that the work done today matters enough to be closed properly. A clean environment also teaches discipline without harshness. It reminds you that order is created by repeated small actions. No one builds a helpful space by accident and keeps it that way without care. The habit of returning things to their place may seem minor, but it shapes character. It trains you to finish what you begin. It strengthens your sense of responsibility. It reduces the silent chaos that often creates inattention. There will be times when life gets messy again. That is unavoidable. Papers will gather, objects will move, daily demands will create disorder. The goal is not to freeze life in a perfect state. The goal is to return to order quickly. A steady person does not panic when the space becomes messy. They know how to restore it. They understand that order is a practice, not a one-time event. That attitude brings freedom. Your environment should serve the life you are trying to build. It should not distract you from it. If your aim is calm, then your surroundings should not constantly agitate you. If your aim is clear thinking, then the space around you should reduce confusion. If your aim is wise action, then your environment should make that action easier to begin. This is one of the most practical forms of self-respect. You are choosing to shape your space in a way that supports the person you want to become. When your environment is organized with care, your decisions improve in subtle but important ways. You waste less time, you feel less pressure. You notice what matters faster. You act with more confidence, because your surroundings are no longer pulling you in every direction. Over time, this creates a stronger inner life. The outer order becomes a support for inner stability. And from that stability, better choices begin to grow naturally. Chapter 4. Establish consistent routines that increase calm productivity. Many people spend years searching for greater productivity while overlooking one of the simplest truths about human nature. The mind performs best when it knows what to expect. Constant unpredictability drains energy. Endless decision-making creates fatigue. Living without structure often feels exciting in theory, but exhausting in reality. A person who wakes up every day without dependable routines must repeatedly decide how to begin, what deserves attention, when to work, when to rest, and how to manage countless small demands. Over time, that mental burden becomes heavy. Consistent routines remove much of this unnecessary strain. They create stability in a world that often feels uncertain. They provide a reliable framework that helps you move forward, even when motivation is weak, emotions are unsettled, or circumstances are less than ideal. A routine is not about restricting your freedom. It is about creating conditions that allow your best qualities to appear more often. Many people misunderstand routines because they associate them with boredom. They imagine a life that is repetitive and lifeless. The reality is very different. Effective routines create freedom. They reduce confusion. They make progress more automatic. They help you preserve energy for meaningful challenges, instead of wasting it on avoidable decisions. When important actions become part of your regular rhythm, success requires less struggle. Think about the moments when life feels most overwhelming. Often, those moments are not caused by one major problem. They are caused by many small responsibilities arriving at once. There are tasks to complete, messages to answer, appointments to remember, obligations to fulfill, and unexpected situations demanding attention. Without structure, these demands compete for space in your mind. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels unfinished. Everything pulls at your attention simultaneously. A consistent routine creates order within that noise. It gives certain activities a fixed place in your day. Instead of constantly deciding when something should happen, you already know. The decision has been made in advance. A simple shift reduces mental pressure and allows your attention to remain focused on execution rather than endless planning. One of the greatest benefits of routine is emotional stability. Many people assume productivity is purely about efficiency, but emotions play a major role in daily performance. When emotions fluctuate, focus often follows. Some days you feel energized, other days you feel discouraged. Some mornings begin with confidence, others begin with doubt. If your progress depends entirely on your emotional state, your results will always be inconsistent. A routine protects you from this problem. It gives you actions to follow regardless of how you feel. You do not need perfect enthusiasm to follow a routine. You simply continue the pattern. This creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence strengthens consistency. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. There is wisdom in understanding that discipline grows stronger when it is attached to repetition. A single effort can create temporary results. A repeated effort creates lasting change. The person who exercises once experiences a workout. The person who exercises consistently develops strength. The person who reads one book gains information. The person who reads regularly develops knowledge. The person who organizes one afternoon enjoys temporary order. The person who follows a routine maintains an organized life. Many people fail because they make their routines too complicated. They create elaborate systems filled with dozens of steps. They attempt to redesign every aspect of life at once. For a few days they feel excited. Then reality arrives. The routine becomes difficult to maintain. Frustration appears. Eventually the system collapses. A better approach is simplicity. The strongest routines are often the easiest to repeat. They fit naturally into daily life. They require reasonable effort. They support important goals without creating unnecessary pressure. Consistency matters far more than complexity. Consider the power of beginning each day with a predictable sequence of actions. Not because every morning must be identical, but because a dependable start creates mental clarity. When you begin with intention rather than confusion, the rest of the day often follows a different path. You feel more grounded. Your attention feels steadier. You approach responsibilities with greater purpose. The same principle applies throughout the day. Productive people often develop reliable patterns for handling important responsibilities. They create dedicated periods for focused work. They establish regular times for planning. They reserve specific moments for reflection and recovery. These routines reduce the likelihood of drifting through the day, reacting to every distraction. One reason routines are so powerful is that they reduce internal negotiation. Without a routine, every important action becomes a debate. Should I start now or later? Should I exercise today or tomorrow? Should I work on this task now or wait until I feel ready? These repeated negotiations consume attention and often lead to procrastination. A routine eliminates much of this conflict. The action becomes part of the schedule rather than a daily decision. Instead of asking whether you feel like doing something, you simply follow the pattern you have established. This approach may seem small, but its long-term impact is enormous. Calm productivity is different from frantic productivity. Many people mistake constant activity for effectiveness. They rush from task to task. They fill every available minute. They remain busy from morning until night. Yet, despite all that movement, they often feel exhausted and dissatisfied. Calm productivity operates differently. It emphasizes deliberate action. It values steady progress. It recognizes that sustainable performance requires balance. Consistent routines support this approach because they create predictability. They allow you to work with focus rather than panic. They help you move through the day with intention instead of urgency. Rest should also be part of a productive routine. Many people neglect this reality. They view rest as something earned only after exhaustion. As a result, they push themselves beyond healthy limits. Their focus declines, their patience weakens, their judgment suffers. Eventually, their productivity decreases despite their increased effort. A wiser approach treats recovery as an essential component of performance. The mind needs periods of renewal. The body requires restoration. A routine that includes proper rest is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of understanding. Long-term success depends on sustainability. Sustainable effort requires recovery. There is also value in creating routines that support your relationships. Organization is not only about tasks and schedules. A meaningful life includes connection. Consistent moments with family, friends, and loved ones create stability that extends beyond productivity. These routines strengthen trust. They deepen relationships. They remind you that achievement alone is not enough. As you develop routines, it is important to remain flexible. Consistency does not require rigidity. Life changes, circumstances shift, unexpected challenges appear. A routine should provide support, not create additional stress. When necessary, adapt, adjust, refine. The goal is not perfection. The goal is reliability. Many people abandon routines after a difficult week because they believe one disruption means failure. This mindset creates unnecessary setbacks. Missing a routine occasionally does not erase progress. What matters is your willingness to return. The strength of a routine is not measured by uninterrupted perfection. It is measured by how consistently you resume after interruptions. There is a valuable lesson in this. Success is often less about intensity and more about continuity. Dramatic effort may produce short bursts of progress. Steady effort produces transformation. The person who follows a useful routine for years will often achieve more than the person who relies on occasional periods of extreme motivation. Pay attention to the routines that currently exist in your life. Every person already has routines, whether they realize it or not. Some support growth, others support distraction. Some create strength, others create weakness. Your habits form patterns. Those patterns become routines. Those routines shape outcomes. If you spend the first hour of every day reacting to random information, that is a routine. If you regularly delay important responsibilities, that is a routine. If you consistently make time for learning and improvement, that is also a routine. The question is not whether you have routines. The question is whether your routines are helping you become the person you want to be. A useful exercise is to examine your typical day honestly. Notice repeated behaviors. Notice where your energy goes. Notice what supports progress and what creates friction. This awareness allows you to make intentional changes. Small adjustments repeated consistently often create remarkable results over time. There is something deeply reassuring about knowing what comes next. The human mind often finds comfort in predictability. When important activities have a designated place, uncertainty decreases. Stress becomes more manageable. Attention becomes easier to direct. The day feels less chaotic because there is a structure supporting it. A well-designed routine also strengthens self-respect. Every time you follow through on an important commitment to yourself, trust grows. You begin to see yourself as someone who keeps promises. This internal confidence becomes a valuable asset. It influences decisions, actions, and resilience during difficult periods. The Stoic philosophers understood the importance of repeated practice. They recognized that character is built through action rather than intention alone. Good intentions matter, but repeated behavior shapes identity. Each day presents opportunities to reinforce useful patterns. Every repetition strengthens the foundation of the person you are becoming. The goal is not to create a life that feels mechanical. The goal is to create a life that feels stable. Stability allows creativity to flourish. Stability supports clear thinking. Stability makes it easier to handle challenges without becoming overwhelmed. Consistent routines provide that stability. As your routines become established, you may notice changes that extend beyond productivity. Decisions become easier, stress becomes more manageable, your attention becomes stronger. You spend less energy deciding and more energy doing. Important responsibilities receive the attention they deserve. Progress feels less forced and more natural. Over time, these benefits accumulate. Days become more organized. Weeks become more productive. Months become more meaningful. The results are rarely dramatic in a single moment, but they become undeniable when viewed across years. A calm, productive life is not created through constant effort alone. It is created through intelligent repetition. It is built by choosing actions that matter and giving them a permanent place in your daily rhythm. It is strengthened through consistency. It is protected through discipline. It is sustained through patience. Every routine you establish is a vote for the future you want. Every repeated action reinforces a direction. Every day provides another opportunity to strengthen patterns that support growth. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need endless motivation. You need dependable routines that guide your actions when emotions fluctuate and circumstances change. When your routines align with your values, life begins to feel different. There is less confusion, less wasted energy, less internal conflict. In its place comes greater clarity, greater steadiness, and greater confidence. That is the quiet power of consistent routines. They help you move through life with calm productivity, steady purpose, and a growing sense of control over the things that truly matter. Chapter 5. Prioritize important tasks and finish them with purpose. Every person is given the same 24 hours in a day, yet the results people produce can be dramatically different. The difference is rarely explained by intelligence alone. It is rarely explained by talent alone. More often, it comes down to one simple skill that many people underestimate: the ability to identify what matters most and give it the attention it deserves. Modern life creates endless opportunities to be busy. Messages arrive constantly. Requests appear without warning. New responsibilities compete for attention. Information never stops flowing. In the middle of all this activity, many people spend their days reacting rather than directing. They move from one task to another without asking whether the work in front of them is actually important. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted, yet the things that truly matter remain unfinished. This creates a frustrating cycle. Effort is invested, time is spent, energy is consumed, yet meaningful progress feels distant. The problem is not always a lack of hard work. The problem is often a lack of priority. A calm and productive life requires more than action. It requires selection. You must learn to distinguish between what deserves your focus and what merely demands your attention. These are not the same thing. Many tasks appear urgent. Few tasks genuinely move your life forward. The ability to recognize the difference is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Imagine standing at the beginning of a day with 10 different responsibilities competing for your attention. It may seem reasonable to start with the easiest one. It may seem tempting to handle the quickest task first simply to feel productive. Yet the easiest task is not always the most valuable one. Finishing something small may create temporary satisfaction, but it does not guarantee meaningful progress. The disciplined person asks a different question. Instead of asking what can be completed quickly, they ask what will create the greatest positive impact. This shift changes everything. It moves attention away from activity and towards significance. It encourages thoughtful action rather than automatic reaction. Many people struggle with priorities because everything feels important. Deadlines create pressure. Expectations create pressure. Personal goals create pressure. Family responsibilities create pressure. The result can feel overwhelming. When everything appears equally important, the mind becomes confused. Clarity begins when you accept a simple truth. Not all tasks carry equal value. Some actions create long-term benefits. Others create only temporary movement. Some responsibilities strengthen your future. Others merely occupy your present. Learning to identify the difference allows you to direct your energy more wisely. One practical way to strengthen this skill is to ask yourself what consequences will follow if a task remains unfinished. Certain responsibilities have serious consequences if ignored. Others have little impact. This perspective helps reveal what truly deserves attention. It forces you to think beyond immediate discomfort and consider long-term outcomes. A meaningful life is often built through attention to a small number of important activities, repeated consistently over time. Growth rarely comes from doing everything. Growth often comes from doing the right things exceptionally well. This requires restraint. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to leave some tasks undone so that essential tasks can receive your full effort. There is also a difference between starting and finishing. Many people enjoy beginnings. A new project feels exciting. A fresh goal creates enthusiasm. A new plan generates optimism. Yet excitement alone cannot produce results. Results appear when work is completed. Finishing requires a different kind of strength. It requires perseverance when the novelty disappears. It requires concentration when distractions appear. It requires commitment when progress feels slower than expected. This is where many opportunities are lost, not because people lack ability, but because they abandon important work before reaching completion. A task completed with care creates value. A task left unfinished creates mental weight. Unfinished responsibilities occupy attention. They remain present in the background of your thoughts. They quietly consume energy. Over time, a collection of unfinished tasks can create significant stress. There is relief in completion. Finishing important work creates clarity. It creates confidence. It creates momentum. Each completed responsibility becomes evidence that you can trust yourself. This trust is powerful because it influences future decisions. When you repeatedly finish what matters, your confidence grows through experience rather than wishful thinking. Purpose plays a critical role in this process. Without purpose, priority becomes difficult to maintain. The mind naturally seeks comfort. It avoids effort when effort feels meaningless. Purpose provides a reason to continue when challenges appear. It connects daily actions to larger goals. It transforms ordinary tasks into meaningful contributions toward the life you want to build. Consider someone pursuing better health. Daily exercise may feel difficult. Preparing nutritious meals may require effort. Choosing discipline over convenience may feel uncomfortable. Yet when these actions are connected to a clear purpose, persistence becomes easier. The individual is no longer focused only on today's effort. They are focused on the future they are creating. The same principle applies to every area of life. Purpose strengthens commitment. Commitment strengthens action. Action produces results. Results reinforce belief. This cycle becomes increasingly powerful when priorities are aligned with meaningful goals. One challenge many people face is the temptation of constant switching. They move from one task to another before making meaningful progress on any of them. A message interrupts concentration. A notification redirects attention. A new idea pulls focus away from existing responsibilities. This pattern creates fragmentation. The mind performs best when given the opportunity to concentrate deeply. Important work often requires sustained attention. Significant progress rarely occurs during scattered moments. It emerges when focus remains directed toward one objective long enough to produce meaningful results. This requires patience. Deep work often feels slower in the beginning because it lacks the immediate stimulation of constant activity. Yet over time it produces far greater outcomes. A person who focuses completely on one important task will usually accomplish more than someone dividing attention across multiple priorities simultaneously. There is wisdom in creating periods where your most valuable work receives complete attention. During these periods, distractions are reduced. Secondary responsibilities are temporarily set aside. Energy is directed toward what matters most. These focused efforts often become the foundation of extraordinary progress. Another obstacle to completion is perfectionism. Many capable individuals delay finishing important work because they fear imperfections. They continue adjusting, revising and refining long after meaningful improvements have stopped. Their standards become barriers. Excellence is valuable, care matters, quality deserves attention. However, perfection is often an illusion. Progress requires completion. The world benefits more from meaningful work, finished thoughtfully, than perfect work that never reaches completion. A Stoic perspective offers useful guidance here. Focus on what is within your control. Your effort is within your control. Your preparation is within your control. Your commitment is within your control. The final outcome may involve factors beyond your influence. Concentrate on the process rather than becoming trapped by unrealistic expectations. This mindset reduces anxiety and strengthens action. Instead of obsessing over every possible result, you direct attention toward the quality of your effort. This creates freedom. It allows you to move forward with confidence rather than hesitation. Many people also underestimate the importance of energy management. Prioritization is not only about deciding what to do, it is also about deciding when to do it. Different tasks require different levels of mental effort. Important responsibilities deserve your strongest attention. Whenever possible, place demanding work during periods when your mind is most alert. This simple adjustment often produces remarkable improvements. Difficult tasks receive higher quality effort. Decisions become sharper. Progress accelerates. Meanwhile, less demanding activities can be completed during periods of lower energy without sacrificing results. There is another lesson worth understanding. Every choice carries an opportunity cost. When you spend an hour on one activity, you cannot spend that same hour elsewhere. This reality makes prioritization essential. Time is limited. Attention is limited. Energy is limited. These resources must be invested carefully. Successful people are not necessarily those who do more than everyone else. Often, they are individuals who consistently invest their resources where they matter most. They understand that effectiveness matters more than volume. They focus on high-value actions. They resist the temptation to fill every moment with activity. Purposeful completion also requires emotional discipline. There will be days when motivation feels absent. There will be moments when progress seems slower than expected. There will be periods when distractions appear more attractive than responsibility. These experiences are normal. The difference lies in your response. Emotional discomfort does not need to dictate behavior. You can continue moving forward despite temporary frustration. You can remain committed despite uncertainty. You can finish important work even when enthusiasm fades. This ability creates resilience. It strengthens character. It builds a reputation with yourself that becomes increasingly valuable over time. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who completes meaningful responsibilities, someone who can be trusted. Trust in yourself is one of the greatest rewards of purposeful action. It cannot be purchased. It cannot be borrowed. It must be earned through repeated experience. Each completed task strengthens that foundation. Each fulfilled commitment reinforces your belief in your own capabilities. There is also satisfaction in knowing that your efforts are aligned with your values. Many people experience stress because significant time on activities that do not reflect what they truly care about. Their actions and priorities become disconnected. This creates internal conflict. A more fulfilling approach involves regularly asking whether your priorities reflect your deepest values. Are you investing attention in what genuinely matters? Are your daily actions supporting your long-term vision? Are your efforts directed toward meaningful objectives? When the answer becomes yes, something changes. Work feels more purposeful. Decisions become clearer. Progress feels more rewarding. The connection between effort and meaning becomes stronger. Life will always present more opportunities than you can pursue. More tasks will appear than you can complete. More requests will arrive than you can accept. This reality makes prioritization a lifelong practice. It requires ongoing awareness. It requires regular adjustment. It requires courage to protect what matters most. The goal is not to accomplish everything. The goal is to accomplish the right things. The goal is not endless productivity. The goal is meaningful productivity. The goal is not constant motion. The goal is steady progress toward a life that reflects your values and aspirations. Each day provides an opportunity to practice this skill. Choose carefully, focus intentionally, commit fully, finish what truly matters, give important work the attention it deserves. Complete responsibilities with care. Allow purpose to guide your efforts. Over time, these choices create a powerful transformation. Stress decreases because your attention is no longer scattered. Confidence increases because important work gets finished. Progress becomes visible because energy is invested wisely. Life feels less chaotic because priorities are clear. This is the quiet strength of purposeful action. It is not dramatic, it does not seek attention, yet it steadily shapes the quality of your life. By prioritizing important tasks and finishing them with purpose, you build something valuable each day. You build trust, you build discipline, you build momentum. Most importantly, you build a life directed by intention rather than distraction. Chapter 6. Simplify your schedule to regain control of time. One of the greatest frustrations people experience is the feeling that time is constantly slipping away. Days begin with good intentions and end with unfinished responsibilities. Weeks pass quickly, yet important goals remain untouched. Months disappear, and many people find themselves wondering where all their time went. The problem is rarely that time itself is moving faster. The problem is often that life has become overloaded with activities, obligations, interruptions, and distractions that quietly consume the hours available. Many people believe they need more time. In reality, most need more clarity about how they use the time they already have. Every person receives the same 24 hours each day. No amount of success, wealth, or influence can increase that number. Time remains one of the few resources distributed equally to everyone. The difference lies in how that resource is managed. A complicated schedule creates a complicated life. When every hour is filled with commitments, obligations, and competing priorities, the mind struggles to maintain focus. Attention becomes fragmented. Energy becomes scattered. The day feels rushed even when little meaningful progress occurs. This constant pressure creates the illusion of productivity while often reducing effectiveness. A simpler schedule creates space. Space for thought, space for reflection, space for important work, space for recovery, space for the unexpected realities that life inevitably brings. Without space, even small disruptions can create stress because there is no flexibility available. Every unexpected event feels like a crisis because the schedule is already operating at its limit. Many people accidentally create lives that leave no room to breathe. They say yes too often. They fill every opening in their calendar. They accept responsibilities without considering the long-term impact. Gradually, their days become crowded. What begins as a desire to be productive turns into a cycle of constant pressure. The first step toward regaining control of time is understanding that every commitment carries a hidden cost. Most people focus on the visible portion of a commitment. They see the meeting, the project, the event, or the obligation itself. What they often overlook is everything attached to it: preparation, travel, recovery, communication, planning, mental attention, emotional energy. These invisible costs accumulate quickly. A single commitment may appear manageable. 10 commitments may seem reasonable. Yet when all the hidden demands are added together, the burden becomes much larger than expected. This is why people often feel overwhelmed, despite believing they should have enough time. Their schedule contains more than they realize. A useful exercise is to examine your typical week with complete honesty. Look beyond appointments and deadlines. Consider where your attention actually goes. Notice how much time disappears into activities that provide little value. Notice how often interruptions redirect your focus. Notice how frequently small obligations expand far beyond their original scope. This awareness is powerful because it reveals reality. Many scheduling problems cannot be solved until they are clearly seen. Once you understand where your time is truly going, better decisions become possible. One of the most important principles of simplification is accepting that not everything deserves a place on your calendar. Modern culture often celebrates constant activity. Being busy is sometimes treated as evidence of importance. Yet, busyness and effectiveness are not the same thing. A person can spend every waking hour occupied and still neglect what matters most. The disciplined individual learns to evaluate opportunities carefully. Before adding something new, they consider what must be removed. They recognize that time is limited. Adding one responsibility often means sacrificing attention elsewhere. This perspective encourages thoughtful choices rather than automatic acceptance. Many people fill their schedules because they fear missing opportunities. They worry that saying no will lead to regret. Ironically, the opposite often occurs. By trying to participate in everything, they dilute their energy across too many areas. Their attention becomes divided. Their performance suffers. Their satisfaction decreases. A meaningful life is rarely built through maximum participation. It is often built through intentional selection. The willingness to focus on fewer things creates the opportunity to do those things exceptionally well. Another common source of scheduling problems is unrealistic planning. People frequently underestimate how long activities actually require. They create ambitious schedules based on ideal circumstances. They assume everything will proceed smoothly. They leave no margin for delays, interruptions, or unexpected complications. Reality rarely follows such perfect plans. Traffic appears. Technology fails. Conversations take longer than expected. Emergencies arise. As these realities accumulate, the schedule begins to collapse. Stress increases because every delay affects everything that follows. A wiser approach involves respecting reality. Build margin into your day. Leave room between responsibilities. Allow time for transitions. Create flexibility rather than operating at maximum capacity. This approach may appear less efficient at first glance, but it often produces better results because it remains sustainable under real conditions. Morgreg creates calm. When your schedule contains breathing room, unexpected events become manageable rather than disruptive. You respond thoughtfully instead of reactively. You maintain greater emotional stability because you are not constantly racing against the clock. There is also value in grouping similar activities together. Constantly switching between different types of tasks can drain mental energy. Every transition requires adjustment. The mind must shift focus, adapt to new information, and establish a different mode of thinking. When similar responsibilities are handled during dedicated periods, concentration often improves. Communication tasks can be handled together. Administrative work can be grouped. Creative projects can receive uninterrupted attention. This approach reduces fragmentation and supports deeper focus. Many people underestimate how much time is lost through frequent switching. A few minutes here and there may seem insignificant. Yet over weeks and months, these interruptions accumulate into substantial losses. Protecting focus becomes easier when the schedule supports it. Technology presents another challenge. Modern devices offer tremendous convenience, but they also create endless opportunities for distraction. Notifications arrive constantly. Information remains available at every moment. Communication has become immediate and continuous. Without clear boundaries, technology can quietly consume large portions of the day. Minutes become hours. Attention becomes fragmented. Important work is repeatedly interrupted. Simple schedule often requires simplifying your relationship with digital distractions. This does not require abandoning technology. It requires intentional use. Decide when communication deserves attention. Establish periods for focused work. Protect moments that require concentration. Use technology as a tool rather than allowing it to dictate your attention. Another important aspect of simplification involves recognizing your personal limits. Many people schedule according to what they wish they could handle rather than what they can realistically sustain. They ignore signs of fatigue. They underestimate the need for recovery. They treat energy as unlimited. This approach eventually creates problems. Productivity declines. Motivation weakens. Stress increases. The schedule becomes a source of pressure rather than support. A more intelligent approach respects human limitations. It recognizes that energy fluctuates. It acknowledges the need for rest. It understands that sustainable performance depends on balance. Simplifying your schedule creates room for this balance to exist. Rest should not be viewed as wasted time. Recovery strengthens performance. Reflection improves judgment. Quiet moments often generate valuable insights. Some of the most important decisions emerge during periods of stillness rather than activity. The Stoics understood that a meaningful life requires attention to what truly matters. They encourage deliberate living rather than aimless motion. They recognize that external demands will always exist. The challenge lies in choosing how to respond. Your schedule reflects your priorities whether you realize it or not. It reveals what receives your attention. It demonstrates what occupies your time. Examining your calendar honestly can provide valuable insight into the direction of your life. If your schedule consistently leaves no room for health, relationships, learning, or reflection, something important may need adjustment. Time invested in these areas is not a luxury. It is part of a balanced life. Many people postpone what matters most because urgent demands appear more pressing. They tell themselves they will focus on important goals later. Later becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Eventually, years pass while meaningful aspirations remain postponed. Simplification helps prevent this pattern. By removing unnecessary obligations, you create space for what genuinely deserves attention. You stop allowing less important activities to dominate your life. You begin directing time intentionally rather than surrendering it automatically. There is also emotional freedom in a simplified schedule. Constant rushing creates tension. Constant obligations create pressure. Constant availability creates exhaustion. When your calendar contains only what truly matters, your relationship with time changes. You begin to feel more present during conversations. You engage more deeply with responsibilities. You experience less internal conflict because your actions align more closely with your values. Instead of feeling pulled in countless directions, you experience greater focus and clarity. A simplified schedule also improves decision-making. When your mind is not overwhelmed by endless demands, you think more clearly. You notice opportunities more easily. You make choices with greater confidence. Mental clutter decreases because unnecessary obligations no longer occupy valuable attention. One useful habit involves regularly reviewing your commitments. Circumstances change. Priorities evolve. Responsibilities that once made sense may no longer align with your goals. Periodic evaluation helps ensure your schedule continues serving your current needs rather than outdated assumptions. Ask yourself difficult questions. Does this commitment still deserve my time? Does this responsibility support the life I want to create? Is this activity providing meaningful value? Honest answers often reveal opportunities for simplifications. This process requires courage. Releasing commitments can feel uncomfortable. Reducing obligations may challenge expectations. Protecting your time may disappoint some people. Yet meaningful change often requires temporary discomfort. Remember that every hour invested in one activity is an hour unavailable elsewhere. This reality makes selective attention essential. Time is too valuable to spend carelessly. It deserves thoughtful management. Regaining control of time does not mean controlling every minute. Life will always contain uncertainty. Unexpected events will occur. Plans will occasionally change. The goal is not rigid control. The goal is intentional direction. A simplified schedule provides that direction. It creates room for what matters. It reduces unnecessary pressure. It supports meaningful progress. It encourages presence rather than constant urgency. As your schedule becomes simpler, you may notice something surprising. Life begins to feel larger rather than smaller. There is more room to think, more room to create, more room to connect, more room to grow. Time seems less scarce because it is no longer consumed by unnecessary complexity. The purpose of simplification is not merely efficiency. It is freedom. Freedom to focus, freedom to choose, freedom to invest your attention where it creates the greatest value, freedom to live according to your priorities rather than reacting to endless demands. When you simplify your schedule, you reclaim something precious. You reclaim ownership of your days. You reclaim authority over your attention. You reclaim the ability to direct your life intentionally. And in doing so, you regain control of the one resource that can never be replaced once it is gone: time itself. Chapter 7. Build reliable habits that strengthen daily self-discipline. Self-discipline is often misunderstood. Many people imagine it as a rare quality possessed only by highly successful individuals. They picture extraordinary willpower, constant motivation, and an almost superhuman ability to resist temptation. This belief creates an unnecessary barrier because it makes discipline seem distant and difficult to achieve. In reality, self-discipline is not built through dramatic acts of determination. It is built through reliable habits practiced repeatedly over time. The strongest people are not necessarily those with the greatest natural willpower. More often, they are individuals who have developed systems that make positive actions easier to repeat. They do not rely on motivation every day. They do not wait until they feel inspired. They create habits that guide their behavior even when enthusiasm is absent. This is why self-discipline can be learned. It is not a gift reserved for a select few. It is a skill developed through consistent practice. Many people struggle because they approach discipline as an emotional challenge rather than a practical one. They wake up each day hoping to feel motivated enough to make good decisions. When motivation is present, they perform well. When motivation disappears, their progress stalls. This creates inconsistency. Good days are followed by unproductive days. Strong effort is followed by long periods of inactivity. Over time, this cycle becomes frustrating. Reliable habits solve this problem because they reduce dependence on mood. A habit creates a pattern. The action becomes familiar. It becomes part of daily life rather than a special event requiring extraordinary effort. This shift changes everything. What once felt difficult begins to feel normal. What once required intense concentration begins to happen almost automatically. Consider the difference between making a decision once and making it repeatedly. A person who decides to exercise occasionally may struggle with consistency. A person who develops a habit of movement as part of daily life no longer debates the decision every morning. The activity becomes integrated into their routine. Energy is spent on execution rather than negotiation. This principle applies to every area of personal growth: reading, learning, organizing, saving money, improving health, building relationships. The results people admire are often the outcome of small habits repeated for months and years. The actions themselves may appear ordinary. Their long-term impact is extraordinary. One reason habits are so powerful is that they shape identity. Every repeated action sends a message to your mind about the type of person you are becoming. When you consistently keep promises to yourself, you begin to see yourself as reliable. When you repeatedly choose growth over comfort, you begin to see yourself as disciplined. This self-perception influences future behavior because people naturally act in ways that align with their identity. Many individuals focus entirely on outcomes while ignoring the habits that create them. They want confidence without practicing courage. They want strength without consistent effort. They want success without developing the behaviors that produce success. This approach rarely works because outcomes are often delayed. Habits, however, are within your control every day. A Stoic perspective teaches the importance of focusing on what can be controlled. Habits fit perfectly within this philosophy. You cannot control every result. You cannot guarantee every outcome. You cannot eliminate uncertainty from life. You can control whether you perform certain actions today. You can control whether you honor your commitments. You can control whether you take the next useful step. This mindset reduces frustration because attention remains focused on behavior rather than circumstances. Instead of worrying constantly about distant goals, you focus on daily actions. The future is influenced by the habits practiced in the present moment. Many people attempt to transform their lives overnight. They create ambitious plans filled with dozens of new behaviors. For a short period they feel excited. The desire for change creates momentum. Then reality appears. The plan becomes difficult to sustain. The effort feels overwhelming. Eventually the system collapses. A more effective approach begins with modest changes. Start with habits small enough to maintain consistently. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence supports larger improvements later. The goal is not immediate perfection. The goal is dependable progress. Small actions performed daily often outperform large actions performed occasionally. Reading a few pages every day may seem insignificant, yet over a year it can lead to substantial knowledge. Saving a small amount regularly may appear minor, yet over time it can create financial stability. Practicing a useful skill for a short period each day can eventually produce remarkable competence. The power of habits lies in accumulation. Their impact is not always visible immediately. This is why many people underestimate them. Progress often occurs beneath the surface before becoming obvious. Patience is essential. Discipline requires trust in the process even when immediate rewards are absent. Another important lesson is that habits thrive in simplicity. The more complicated a behavior becomes, the more difficult it is to repeat consistently. Simplicity increases reliability. Reliability strengthens discipline. A habit that can be maintained during difficult periods is often more valuable than an ambitious routine that collapses under pressure. There will always be days when energy is lower than usual. There will be moments when enthusiasm disappears. There will be circumstances that make progress more challenging. Reliable habits account for these realities. They are designed to survive ordinary difficulties rather than depend on perfect conditions. One of the greatest obstacles to self-discipline is inconsistency in decision-making. People often make choices based on how they feel in a particular moment. If they feel energized, they take action. If they feel tired, they postpone. If they feel inspired, they commit. If they feel discouraged, they withdraw. This creates instability. Habits provide stability because they create standards that exist beyond temporary emotions. They help you act according to principles rather than impulses. This shift strengthens character because it teaches you to value long-term benefits over immediate comfort. Comfort itself is not the enemy. Every person needs rest and recovery. Problems arise when comfort becomes the primary guide for decision-making. Growth often requires temporary discomfort. Learning requires effort. Improvement requires patience. Achievement requires persistence. Habits help you navigate these realities without constantly debating whether the effort is worthwhile. Many people believe discipline means making life harder. In truth, discipline often makes life easier. It reduces chaos. It prevents avoidable problems. It creates stability. It builds confidence. A person who consistently manages responsibilities experiences less stress than someone who repeatedly postpones important tasks. Think about the relief that comes from handling obligations before they become emergencies. Think about the confidence that develops when promises are honored consistently. Think about the peace created by knowing that important areas of life receive regular attention. These benefits emerge naturally from disciplined habits. Environment also influences habit formation. Human behavior is strongly affected by surroundings. Certain environments support positive choices. Others encourage distraction. If you want reliable habits, create conditions that make those habits easier to perform. Place useful tools within reach, reduce unnecessary obstacles, make important actions visible. Remove sources of temptation when possible. These adjustments may seem small, yet they often determine whether a habit survives or disappears. Self-discipline becomes stronger when the environment supports it, rather than constantly working against it. Another valuable principle involves tracking progress. Awareness strengthens accountability. When you monitor your habits honestly, patterns become easier to recognize. Successes become visible. Areas requiring improvement become clear. Progress feels more tangible because it is measured rather than assumed. However, tracking should support growth rather than create pressure. The purpose is awareness, not perfection. Missing a day does not erase previous effort. Temporary setbacks are part of every meaningful journey. What matters is the willingness to continue. Many people abandon good habits because they become discouraged by mistakes. They view a single failure as evidence that the entire effort has failed. This perspective creates unnecessary setbacks. A more constructive approach recognizes that progress is rarely linear. Improvement involves learning, adjusting, and continuing. The strongest individuals are not those who never make mistakes. They are those who recover quickly when mistakes occur. They refuse to allow temporary setbacks to become permanent patterns. They return to useful habits without excessive self-criticism. This resilience is an important component of discipline. There is also value in understanding that habits influence one another. Positive behaviors often create momentum that supports additional improvements. Better sleep may improve focus. Improved focus may increase productivity. Increased productivity may reduce stress. Reduced stress may strengthen decision-making. Growth frequently occurs through interconnected systems rather than isolated actions. The opposite is also true. Neglecting important habits can create negative momentum. Poor choices in one area often affect others. This reality highlights the importance of protecting foundational habits that support overall well-being. As self-discipline grows, you may notice a gradual shift in how you view challenges. Tasks that once felt difficult become manageable. Responsibilities that once created resistance become familiar. The effort required to maintain good habits decreases because repetition creates efficiency. This transformation is not sudden. It develops through steady practice. The Stoics often emphasized mastery of the self. They understood that external circumstances cannot always be controlled. Internal responses, however, can be cultivated. Reliable habits provide a practical path toward this mastery. They strengthen your ability to act intentionally rather than impulsively. They help align behavior with values. They create consistency between what you believe and how you live. There is dignity in this process. Every disciplined action reinforces personal integrity. Every repeated habit strengthens self-respect. Every commitment honored becomes evidence of character. These rewards extend far beyond productivity. They influence confidence, relationships, decision-making, and emotional stability. A disciplined life is not built through occasional moments of extraordinary effort. It is built through ordinary actions repeated faithfully. The daily choice to show up. The daily choice to continue. The daily choice to practice behaviors that support growth, even when immediate rewards are absent. Over time, these choices create remarkable results. They strengthen confidence because promises are consistently kept. They build resilience because challenges are faced rather than avoided. They create momentum because progress continues even during difficult periods. Most importantly, they develop the inner strength necessary to navigate life with greater wisdom and stability. Reliable habits are more than tools for productivity. They are evidence of self-respect in action. They demonstrate a commitment to growth. They transform intentions into reality. They strengthen daily self-discipline, one decision at a time, until disciplined behavior becomes part of who you are. And once that foundation is established, it becomes one of the most valuable assets you will ever possess. Chapter 8. Protect your attention and reduce constant distractions. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Unlike money, once a moment of attention is spent, it can never be recovered. Every day, countless forces compete for it. Advertisements seek it. Notifications demand it. Entertainment platforms are designed to capture it. News headlines attempt to hold it. Other people's priorities pull on it. Without realizing it, many people spend large portions of their lives giving away their attention to things that contribute little to their growth, peace, or purpose. This is one of the defining challenges of modern life. The problem is not a lack of information. The problem is an excess of it. The problem is not that there is nothing to focus on. The problem is that there are too many things trying to become the focus. As a result, many people move through their days feeling mentally crowded. Their minds are full, yet their progress feels limited. Their schedules are active, yet their goals remain distant. Their attention is constantly moving, yet rarely settling long enough to create meaningful results. A calm and productive life requires something increasingly rare. It requires the ability to direct attention intentionally. It requires the wisdom to decide what deserves your focus and the discipline to protect that focus once it has been chosen. Many people underestimate the cost of distraction because the effects are not always immediate. A single interruption may seem harmless. A quick glance at a message may appear insignificant. A few minutes spent checking updates may feel innocent. Yet distractions rarely arrive one at a time. They arrive repeatedly throughout the day. Each interruption breaks concentration. Each shift forces the mind to restart. Each diversion steals a small piece of momentum. Over time, these small losses become substantial. Hours disappear. Projects take longer than necessary. Mental fatigue increases. Frustration grows because effort no longer produces the expected results. The issue is not laziness. The issue is fragmented attention. One reason distractions are so powerful is that they often promise immediate rewards. A notification offers novelty. A new piece of information provides stimulation. A quick check of a device creates a brief sense of satisfaction. The brain naturally responds to these experiences because they feel rewarding in the moment. The challenge is that immediate rewards often compete directly with meaningful progress. Important work usually requires patience. Learning requires concentration. Growth requires sustained effort. These activities may not provide instant gratification, but they create lasting benefits. A distracted mind continually chooses short-term stimulation at the expense of long-term fulfillment. This is why protecting attention is not merely a productivity strategy. It is a life strategy. The quality of your attention shapes the quality of your decisions. The quality of your decisions influences the direction of your life. Wherever attention goes consistently, results tend to follow. Think about the moments when you have done your best work. Chances are those moments involved deep concentration. Your mind was fully engaged. Your attention remained steady. You were not constantly reacting to interruptions. Time seemed to pass differently because your focus was directed towards something meaningful. This state is difficult to achieve when distractions are allowed unlimited access. Deep concentration requires protection. It requires boundaries. It requires conscious decisions about what deserves entry into your mental space. Many people treat attention as if it is unlimited. They allow constant interruptions throughout the day. They switch rapidly between tasks. They attempt to consume information while simultaneously working on important responsibilities. Eventually, they wonder why they feel mentally exhausted. Attention functions much like physical energy. It can be directed wisely or wasted carelessly. It can be invested or scattered. The way you use it determines what remains available for meaningful pursuits. One practical step toward protecting attention is recognizing that not every piece of information deserves immediate awareness. Many people feel compelled to know everything as soon as it happens. They monitor news constantly. They check messages repeatedly. They remain connected to endless streams of updates. This habit creates a sense of urgency, even when no urgency exists. Most information does not require an immediate response. Most updates can wait. Most interruptions are not emergencies. Learning to distinguish between what is important and what is merely available is an essential skill. This distinction creates space for thoughtful action. There is tremendous value in creating periods of uninterrupted focus. During these periods, outside demands are temporarily set aside. Notifications are silenced. Devices are placed out of reach if necessary. Attention is directed toward a single objective. These focused sessions often produce more meaningful progress than hours spent multitasking. Multitasking itself is often misunderstood. Many people view it as a valuable skill. In reality, the mind typically shifts rapidly between tasks rather than performing them simultaneously. Each transition carries a cost. Concentration weakens, errors increase, mental fatigue accumulates. The appearance of efficiency often hides a reduction in effectiveness. A focused mind works differently. It engages fully with the task at hand. It processes information more deeply. It produces higher quality work. It experiences less internal conflict because attention is not being pulled in multiple directions at once. Protecting attention also requires awareness of emotional distractions. Not every distraction comes from technology. Some distractions originate within the mind itself. Worry, resentment, regret, anxiety. These mental habits can consume enormous amounts of attention without producing useful outcomes. The Stoics offered valuable guidance on this subject. They encouraged individuals to focus on what lies within their control. This principle remains powerful today. Much mental energy is wasted on circumstances that cannot be changed. Attention becomes trapped in imagined scenarios, unresolved frustrations, and future uncertainties. When you redirect focus toward actions within your influence, mental clarity improves. Energy is no longer consumed by endless speculation. Attention becomes available for constructive effort. This shift creates greater peace because it aligns your focus with reality rather than fear. Another important aspect of attention management involves understanding personal triggers. Every individual has certain distractions that repeatedly capture focus. For some people, it is social media. For others, it may be entertainment, unnecessary conversations, constant checking of email, or habitual browsing. Identifying these patterns honestly is essential. Awareness creates choice. Once you recognize what repeatedly steals your attention, you can take steps to reduce its influence. You can establish boundaries. You can limit exposure. You can create environments that support concentration rather than sabotage it. Many people believe they simply need greater self-control. While discipline matters, environment often matters just as much. A person surrounded by distractions will face greater challenges than someone whose surroundings support focus. Small adjustments can create significant improvements. A quiet workspace. A device placed outside immediate reach. Designated times for communication. Clear expectations with others. These practical measures reduce friction and make concentration easier to maintain. Attention is also strengthened through deliberate practice. Just as muscles grow stronger through repeated exercise, focus improves through repeated use. Every time you resist an unnecessary distraction, you strengthen your ability to direct attention intentionally. Every time you complete an important task without interruption, you reinforce valuable mental habits. This process requires patience. In a world filled with constant stimulation, sustained concentration may feel difficult at first. The mind has become accustomed to rapid shifts in attention. It seeks novelty. It expects frequent rewards. Rebuilding focus requires practice. Fortunately, improvement occurs gradually. The more consistently you protect your attention, the easier concentration becomes. Tasks that once felt mentally exhausting become more manageable. Deep thinking becomes more accessible. Productivity increases because attention remains engaged long enough to create meaningful results. There is also a deeper benefit to protecting attention. It improves your experience of life itself. Many people move through their days physically present but mentally elsewhere. They are distracted during conversations, distracted during meals, distracted during moments of rest. Their attention is divided so frequently that they rarely experience full presence. Presence creates richness. It allows you to appreciate experiences more deeply. It strengthens relationships because people feel genuinely heard. It improves learning because information receives full consideration. It enhances gratitude because attention is directed toward what is actually happening rather than constantly searching for the next source of stimulation. A distracted life often feels rushed regardless of actual circumstances. Attention is always moving ahead, searching for something else. A focused life feels more grounded because attention remains connected to the present moment. This does not mean eliminating every source of entertainment or enjoyment. Rest and recreation are important parts of a balanced life. The goal is intentionality. Choose how you spend your attention rather than allowing external forces to choose for you. Every day presents countless opportunities to surrender attention carelessly. Every day also presents opportunities to protect it. The difference between these choices becomes significant over time. Small moments of focus accumulate. Small moments of distraction accumulate as well. Both create long-term consequences. When you protect your attention, you gain access to deeper thinking. You become more effective because your efforts receive full engagement. You experience greater calm because your mind is not constantly reacting to external demands. You make better decisions because important matters receive proper consideration. Most importantly, you regain ownership of one of your most valuable resources. You stop allowing every notification, headline, opinion, and interruption to dictate the direction of your thoughts. You become more deliberate, more present, more capable of directing your life according to your values rather than external distractions. The ability to focus has become increasingly rare, which makes it increasingly valuable. Those who develop this skill gain a significant advantage. They accomplish more meaningful work. They experience greater peace. They build stronger relationships. They live with greater intention. Protecting your attention is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. It requires awareness. It requires discipline. It requires a willingness to guard what matters. Yet the rewards are substantial. A focused mind is a powerful asset. It supports growth, strengthens character, and creates the conditions necessary for a calm and productive life. Every moment of protected attention becomes an investment in the person you are becoming. Chapter 9. Review your progress and improve every single day. Improvement is often misunderstood. Many people imagine change as a dramatic event. They picture a single breakthrough, a powerful realization, or a life-changing moment that instantly transforms everything. While such moments can be valuable, lasting growth usually happens in a different way. It develops quietly, it grows through reflection, it strengthens through awareness. It advances through small adjustments made consistently over time. A person rarely changes their life in one day. However, a person can make decisions every day that eventually change their life completely. This is why reviewing your progress is so important. Without reflection, days blend together. Experiences pass without lessons. Mistakes repeat themselves. Opportunities for growth go unnoticed. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. It helps you understand what is working, what is not, and where improvement is possible. Many people spend years moving forward without ever stopping to evaluate their direction. They work hard, they stay busy, they complete tasks. Yet they rarely ask themselves important questions. Are my actions producing the results I want? Am I becoming the person I intend to become? Are my daily choices aligned with my values? Without these questions, activity can replace progress. A calm and organized life requires regular examination, not because you should criticize yourself constantly, but because awareness is the foundation of growth. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. You cannot correct what you never acknowledge. Honest self-evaluation creates the opportunity for meaningful change. One of the greatest advantages of reviewing your progress is that it helps you recognize reality clearly. The human mind often creates distorted perceptions. Some people underestimate their growth. They focus so heavily on what remains unfinished that they overlook how far they have already come. Others overestimate their progress because they pay attention to intentions rather than actions. Reflection provides balance. It replaces assumptions with evidence. At the end of a day, a week, or a month, there is value in asking simple questions. What went well? What challenges appeared? What lessons did I learn? What should I continue doing? What needs adjustment? These questions encourage honesty without creating unnecessary judgment. They shift attention toward learning rather than blame. Many people avoid self-reflection because they fear confronting mistakes. They worry that reviewing their actions will lead to disappointment. Yet mistakes contain valuable information. Every error reveals something. Every setback offers insight. Every difficult experience provides an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. The Stoics viewed challenges as teachers rather than enemies. They understood that adversity reveals character. It exposes weaknesses. It highlights areas requiring growth. Instead of avoiding these lessons, they encouraged careful examination of them. This approach transforms difficulties into sources of wisdom. Imagine reaching the end of a difficult day. Perhaps a plan failed. Perhaps emotions influenced a decision. Perhaps an important responsibility was neglected. One response is frustration. Another response is curiosity. Curiosity asks what can be learned. Curiosity searches for understanding. Curiosity creates growth because it transforms mistakes into education. A person who reflects regularly develops greater self-awareness. They begin to recognize patterns in their behavior. They notice recurring obstacles. They identify habits that support progress and habits that create problems. This awareness becomes a powerful advantage because patterns are easier to change once they are visible. Many frustrations repeat themselves because people never stop to study them. The same distractions appear, the same excuses return, the same mistakes continue. Reflection interrupts this cycle. It brings hidden behaviors into the light. Once seen clearly, they become easier to address. Improvement does not require perfection. In fact, the pursuit of perfection often becomes a barrier to progress. Many people become discouraged because they expect flawless performance. When reality fails to match these expectations, motivation declines. They focus entirely on shortcomings and overlook meaningful gains. A healthier approach values progress over perfection. Progress acknowledges that growth is ongoing. It accepts that mistakes will occur. It understands that development happens gradually. This mindset encourages persistence because success is measured by movement rather than flawless execution. Every day offers opportunities for improvement. Some opportunities are large, many are small. A better conversation, a wiser decision, a more thoughtful response, a stronger effort, a healthier choice. These improvements may seem insignificant individually, yet they accumulate over time. Consider how small adjustments influence long-term outcomes. A slight improvement repeated consistently can produce remarkable results. One extra page read each day expands knowledge. One thoughtful financial decision strengthens stability. One act of patience improves relationships. Moment of discipline strengthens character. The cumulative effect of these actions becomes substantial. This is why daily reflection matters. It helps you identify the small adjustments that create long-term change. Without reflection, these opportunities often remain invisible. With reflection, they become clear. Another important benefit of reviewing progress is increased gratitude. Many people become so focused on future goals that they fail to appreciate current achievements. They constantly chase the next milestone. They measure themselves against distant objectives. As a result, satisfaction remains elusive. Revelation creates balance by acknowledging growth already achieved. It reminds you of lessons learned, challenges overcome, and strengths developed. This perspective builds confidence because it provides evidence of progress. Confidence rooted in evidence is far more durable than confidence based solely on optimism. Gratitude also strengthens resilience. When you recognize positive developments, setbacks feel less overwhelming. You understand that one difficult day does not erase months of effort. One mistake does not define your character. One challenge does not determine your future. Reflection helps maintain this broader perspective. Many successful individuals maintain some form of regular review. They understand that improvement requires awareness. Athletes study performance. Leaders evaluate decisions. Skilled professionals examine results. Growth rarely occurs by accident. It emerges through deliberate observation and adjustment. You do not need a complicated system to benefit from reflection. Simplicity is often most effective. A few quiet minutes can provide valuable insight. The goal is not lengthy analysis. The goal is honest evaluation. Ask meaningful questions. Observe, identify lessons, consider improvements. Consistency matters more than complexity. A brief daily review, practiced regularly, often produces greater benefits than occasional periods of intense analysis. The habit of reflection creates continuous learning. Each day becomes an opportunity to gather information about yourself and your progress. There is also value in reviewing emotional responses. Many people focus exclusively on external actions while ignoring internal reactions. Yet emotions influence decisions significantly. Understanding your emotional patterns can reveal important insights. What situations create frustration? What circumstances increase confidence? What triggers distraction? What supports concentration? These observations help you understand yourself more clearly. Greater self-awareness leads to better choices because you recognize influences that previously operated unnoticed. Reviewing progress also encourages personal responsibility. It becomes difficult to blame circumstances for everything when you regularly examine your own actions. This is not about self-criticism. It is about empowerment. Responsibility creates influence. When you acknowledge your role in outcomes, you gain the ability to create change. The Stoics emphasized this principle repeatedly. They encouraged individuals to focus on their own conduct rather than becoming preoccupied with external events. This mindset remains valuable today. While many circumstances lie beyond your control, your responses remain your responsibility. Daily improvement begins with this understanding. Growth becomes possible when you focus attention where influence exists. Instead of dwelling on what cannot be changed, you examine what can be improved. This approach creates forward movement, because energy is directed toward action rather than complaint. There will be periods when progress feels slow. Results may take longer than expected. Improvement may seem difficult to measure. During these times, reflection becomes especially valuable. It reveals subtle gains that might otherwise be overlooked. It highlights lessons learned. It reminds you that growth often occurs before visible results appear. Patience plays an important role in this process. Significant transformation rarely happens quickly. Character develops through repeated experiences. Skills strengthen through practice. Wisdom grows through observation and reflection. Lasting change requires time. Many people abandon worthwhile efforts because they expect immediate results. Reflection helps counter this tendency by drawing attention to gradual improvement. It reveals movement that might otherwise go unnoticed. This awareness supports persistence because progress becomes visible. There is another powerful benefit to reviewing your life regularly. It helps ensure that your actions remain aligned with your values. Over time, responsibilities accumulate, demands increase, distractions multiply. Without reflection, it becomes easy to drift away from what matters most. Periodic evaluation acts as a course correction. It allows you to ask whether your current direction reflects your priorities. Are you investing time wisely? Are your actions supporting meaningful goals? Are your choices consistent with the person you want to become? These questions protect against aimless activity. A meaningful life is not created through random effort. It is shaped through intentional decisions, repeated consistently. Reflection strengthens intention because it keeps your attention focused on what matters. As self-awareness increases, improvement becomes more precise. You stop guessing about what needs attention. You begin responding to actual patterns. Growth becomes more effective because it is based on observation rather than assumption. Over time, the habit of reflection transforms how you view each day. Instead of seeing days merely as units of time to survive, you begin viewing them as opportunities to learn. Every experience contains information, every challenge contains a lesson, every success contains insight. Life itself becomes a source of continuous education. This mindset creates remarkable resilience. Difficult experiences lose some of their power to discourage because they become opportunities for learning. Success becomes more valuable because its lessons are captured rather than ignored. Progress becomes more consistent because improvements are identified and reinforced. The goal is not to become obsessed with self-analysis. The goal is to remain awake to your own development. To notice, to learn, to adjust, to grow. These simple practices create extraordinary results when repeated over years. Every evening provides an opportunity to pause and examine the day honestly. Every week offers a chance to identify patterns. Every month creates space to evaluate direction. These moments of reflection become investments in your future because they strengthen awareness, wisdom, and personal responsibility. A person who reviews their progress regularly rarely remains stagnant for long. They continue learning. They continue adapting. They continue growing. Small improvements accumulate. Better decisions become more frequent. Character becomes stronger. Purpose becomes clearer. The journey of self-improvement is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming slightly better than you were yesterday. It is about learning from experience instead of merely experiencing life. It is about using reflection as a tool for growth. When you review your progress honestly and commit to improving every single day, you create a powerful path toward lasting fulfillment, greater wisdom, and a life lived with intention. Chapter 10. maintain lasting organization, and enjoy a balanced life. Organization is often viewed as a destination. Many people imagine that one day they will finally get everything under control. Their schedules will be perfect. Their homes will stay orderly. Their responsibilities will be managed effortlessly. Their stress will disappear. Yet life does not work this way. Organization is not a finish line that you cross once and never revisit. It is an ongoing practice. It is a way of living. It is a commitment to creating order repeatedly as life continues to change. This understanding is important because it changes expectations. When people believe organization is a one-time achievement, they often become discouraged when disorder returns. A busy week arrives. Unexpected challenges appear. Responsibilities increase. Suddenly things feel less organized than before. Many assume they have failed. The truth is much simpler. Life moved forward, and the process of creating order must move forward with it. A balanced life is not created by eliminating every challenge. It is created by developing systems that help you navigate those challenges with greater clarity and stability. The goal is not perfection. The goal is sustainability. Sustainable organization allows you to maintain progress without feeling overwhelmed. It supports your responsibilities while leaving room for enjoyment, relationships, health, and personal growth. Many people unintentionally create imbalance because they focus too heavily on one area of life while neglecting others. Some become consumed by work. Others devote all their energy to responsibilities while ignoring their well-being. Some focus entirely on productivity and forget the importance of rest. This imbalance eventually creates problems because success in one area cannot fully compensate for neglect in another. A truly organized life recognizes that different parts of life require attention. Your health matters. Your relationships matter. Your responsibilities matter. Your personal development matters. Your peace of mind matters. Organization becomes valuable when it helps these areas work together rather than compete against one another. One of the greatest signs of lasting organization is not how much you accomplish. It is how consistently you can maintain your responsibilities without sacrificing your well-being. Many people can perform at a high level for a short period. Far fewer can sustain progress over years. Long-term success requires balance because exhaustion eventually limits even the most determined person. A balanced life begins with accepting that time and energy are limited resources. Every day presents choices about where those resources will be invested. Some activities produce meaningful returns. Others create unnecessary strain. The more carefully you direct your attention, the more effectively you can maintain stability. There is wisdom in recognizing that not everything deserves equal importance. Some responsibilities are essential. Others are optional. Some opportunities align with your values. Others create distraction. Lasting organization depends on your ability to distinguish between these categories. Without this skill, life becomes crowded with commitments that consume energy without providing meaningful benefits. Many people experience stress because they attempt to carry too much. They assume that being responsible means accepting every request, solving every problem, and meeting every expectation. Over time, this creates emotional exhaustion. A balanced life requires healthy boundaries. Boundaries protect your time, your energy, and your ability to focus on what matters most. Learning to establish boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. Every meaningful commitment requires resources. When those resources are spread too thin, the quality of your attention decreases, relationships suffer, work suffers, health suffers. Balance becomes difficult to maintain. One of the most valuable habits for maintaining organization is regular maintenance. Just as a home requires occasional cleaning, an organized life requires periodic review. Small issues are easier to address than large ones. Minor adjustments prevent major problems. A few minutes spent organizing today can save hours of frustration later. This principle applies to many areas of life. Financial responsibilities benefit from regular attention. Personal goals benefit from periodic evaluation. Relationships benefit from consistent care. Health improves when addressed proactively rather than reactively. Organization thrives when maintenance becomes a normal part of life rather than an emergency response. There is also value in simplifying expectations. Many people create unnecessary pressure by demanding perfection from themselves. They believe every day must be productive, every plan must succeed, and every responsibility must be handled flawlessly. These expectations often create frustration because they ignore reality. Life includes uncertainty. Plans change, mistakes occur, unexpected challenges appear. A balanced person understands this. They remain committed to their principles while adapting to circumstances. They do not abandon organization when difficulties arise. They adjust thoughtfully and continue moving forward. Flexibility is one of the most overlooked aspects of lasting organization. Rigidity often breaks under pressure. Flexibility allows systems to survive change. The most effective routines are not those that demand perfect conditions. They are those that continue functioning during imperfect conditions. Consider the difference between a person who abandons all structure after a difficult week and a person who makes small adjustments while preserving important habits. The second individual maintains momentum. They understand that consistency matters more than perfection. They focus on continuity rather than flawless execution. The Stoics understood the importance of adaptability. They recognized that external events cannot always be controlled. Circumstances change, challenges emerge, opportunities appear unexpectedly. Wisdom lies not in controlling every outcome, but in responding effectively to whatever arrives. This perspective is especially valuable when maintaining organization. There will be seasons of life that feel easier than others. Some periods will provide abundant time and energy. Other periods will require greater resilience. Your systems should support you during both situations. A balanced life also includes enjoyment. Organization is not meant to create a life of endless obligations. It is meant to create space for meaningful experiences. Many people become so focused on managing responsibilities that they forget why they wanted an organized life in the first place. Organization should support freedom. It should create opportunities for connection, learning, creativity, and rest. It should reduce unnecessary stress so that you can be fully present during important moments. It should help you engage with life rather than merely manage it. There is something deeply rewarding about having enough structure to support your goals while still having room to appreciate ordinary experiences. A conversation without rushing. A quiet evening without anxiety. Time spent with people who matter. Moments of reflection. These experiences contribute significantly to a balanced life. Many people postpone happiness until everything is complete. They tell themselves they will relax after one more project, one more achievement, or one more responsibility. Yet life rarely reaches a point where every task disappears. There will always be something left to do. A wiser approach is learning to appreciate progress while continuing to grow. Satisfaction and ambition do not need to oppose one another. You can pursue improvement while remaining grateful for what already exists. You can work toward future goals while appreciating the present moment. Another important aspect of lasting organization involves protecting your values. As life becomes busy, it is easy to drift toward whatever demands immediate attention. Without careful awareness, urgent matters begin replacing important ones. Gradually, priorities become distorted. Regular reflection prevents this drift. It allows you to reconnect with what matters most. It reminds you why certain goals are important. It helps ensure that your actions remain aligned with your principles. This alignment creates inner stability because your daily choices support your deeper values. There is also strength in recognizing that growth never truly ends. Organization is not something you master completely and leave behind. Every stage of life introduces new challenges. New responsibilities require new approaches. New opportunities require new decisions. Remaining open to learning allows your systems to evolve as circumstances change. The most organized people are not necessarily those with the most complicated systems. Often, they are individuals who understand themselves well. They know their priorities, they respect their limitations, they maintain useful habits, they adjust when necessary. They focus on what matters and release what does not. This simplicity creates resilience. When life becomes difficult, they are not dependent on elaborate structures. They have built strong foundations. Their habits support them. Their values guide them. Their systems provide stability. A balanced life is ultimately about harmony rather than perfection. It is about creating enough order to support your responsibilities while preserving enough flexibility to enjoy life. It is about working diligently without becoming consumed by work. It is about pursuing goals without neglecting relationships. It is about maintaining discipline without losing peace of mind. The journey toward organization is not measured solely by completed tasks or efficient schedules. It is measured by the quality of your daily experience. Are you living according to your values? Are you using your time intentionally? Are your responsibilities manageable? Are you creating space for what truly matters? These questions matter because organization is not an end in itself. It is a tool. Its purpose is to help you build a life that feels meaningful, stable, and fulfilling. A life where important responsibilities receive proper attention. A life where growth continues steadily. A life where stress no longer controls your decisions. A life where you can focus on what matters most without being constantly overwhelmed. As you continue forward, remember that lasting organization is built through small actions, repeated consistently. It is strengthened through awareness, maintained through discipline, and protected through wise choices. Some days will be easier than others. Some seasons will require greater patience. Yet every effort to create order contributes to a stronger foundation. The reward is not merely a cleaner schedule or a more organized environment. The reward is a greater sense of control over your life. The reward is confidence in your ability to handle responsibilities effectively. The reward is the freedom that comes from knowing where your attention belongs and why. Most importantly, the reward is balance. A balanced life allows you to grow without constant exhaustion, achieve without losing yourself, and move forward with both purpose and peace. That is the true art of living organized. It is not about doing more. It is about living better. It is about creating a life where order supports fulfillment, where discipline supports freedom, and where every day becomes an opportunity to live with greater clarity, intention, and lasting contentment.